Picture a city the size of a tennis court. It has highways, nurseries, and graveyards. It has farms, garbage dumps, and air vents. It has a workforce of millions. And nobody is in charge. No mayor, no engineer, no blueprint. Not one ant tells another ant what to do. And yet the city works. It works better than most human ones. Now look closer at the dirt beneath your feet. Because somewhere under there, an organism with no brain in charge is doing something we, with all our cities and committees, still cannot fully explain. We build using leaders, hierarchies, and instructions handed down from the top. Ants build using none of that, and somehow they end up with structures so efficient that engineers study them to design better networks. So the real question isn't how ants survive without a leader. The better question is this: how does intelligence emerge from a crowd where no single member is intelligent at all? That is what we are going to unravel today. Not the cartoon version with a queen barking orders, because that version is wrong. The queen does not rule. The queen does not plan. The queen does not even know what is happening 5 centimeters away from her body. What actually runs an ant colony is something far stranger and far more beautiful. It is a kind of thinking without a thinker, a mind made of bodies. Let's start with the biggest myth. The queen is not a queen. We call her that because she is large, because she lays the eggs, and because human brains love hierarchies. But inside the colony, she has no authority. She gives no commands. She inspects no tunnels. Her job is biological, not political. She is essentially an egg-laying organ, surrounded by sisters who feed her, clean her, and protect her. If you removed her tomorrow, the colony would not collapse from confusion. It would slowly fade because no new ants are being born, not because the workers suddenly forgot what to do. They keep digging, foraging, and defending exactly as they did before. So if she isn't the leader, who is? The answer is no one. And also, in a strange way, everyone. Think of the colony as a living cloud of decisions. Each ant follows a tiny set of simple rules. If I smell this chemical, I turn left. If I bump into a sister carrying food, I head toward where she came from. If the tunnel feels too warm, I dig somewhere cooler. That is essentially the entire instruction manual. There is no chapter on city planning. There is no master map of the nest. There is just a worker, her antennae, and a handful of reactions. But when you put millions of these tiny rule followers together, something astonishing happens. The colony begins to behave as if it has a mind. Patterns emerge that no single ant could ever design. Scientists call this emergence. It is the same principle that lets a flock of starlings move like one liquid body in the sky, or lets neurons in your brain produce a thought, even though no single neuron knows what you are thinking about. An ant colony is a brain made of legs, and the way it talks to itself is chemistry. Ants communicate mostly through pheromones, invisible chemical messages laid down like notes on the ground. A scout finds food and walks home, leaving a faint trail. Another ant stumbles onto that trail, follows it, finds the food, and reinforces the scent on her way back. The more ants that succeed, the stronger the scent gets. The stronger the scent, the more ants join in. If the food runs out, no one refreshes the trail. The scent fades, and the highway quietly dissolves. Nobody decided to close that route. The route closed itself. The colony, as a whole, made a decision that no individual ant ever made. This is how they choose between 2 food sources, 2 nesting sites, 2 tunnels to dig. Not by voting, not by debating, but by a slow chemical conversation that always tilts toward whatever is working best. And it gets stranger. Inside a mature colony, ants are sorted into roles. Foragers go out for food. Nurses care for the young. Soldiers guard the entrances. Cleaners haul out the dead. Builders shape the architecture of the nest itself. But here's the twist. These roles are not assigned. There's no hiring office. An ant's job often depends on her age, her body chemistry, and what she happens to encounter in her first few weeks of life. And if the colony's needs change, the ants change with it. If too many foragers die, some nurses will quietly switch jobs and start foraging. If the nest is attacked, builders may become soldiers. If the queen lays more eggs, more workers drift into nursing. No one announces the new policy. No one holds a meeting. The colony reorganizes itself the way a body heals a wound, automatically, from the bottom up. Let me ask you something here, before we go deeper. When you watch ants on a sidewalk, do you see them as individuals, or do you see one slow, scattered creature with many legs? Drop a thought in the comments, because the answer changes everything about how you see them next time. I genuinely want to know whether you instinctively zoom in on the single ant or zoom out to the moving shape of the whole line. Now let's keep going, because the architecture is where this gets almost unbelievable. Some species build cities you could honestly call civilizations. Leafcutter ants in the rainforests of Central and South America grow underground metropolises that can stretch across an area larger than a small house and reach several meters deep. Inside, they cultivate fungus gardens, real farms, on leaves they cut and carry from the canopy above. They were farming long before humans were, tens of millions of years before, in fact, and they do it without a single farmer ever reading a manual. Researchers have poured cement into abandoned leafcutter nests and excavated the hardened cast. What they pulled out looked like an alien city. Vast chambers connected by smooth tunnels, specialized rooms for the fungus, for waste, for the young, for ventilation. The ventilation is the part that breaks people's brains. Some nests have shafts that pull cool air in from one side and push warm air out the other, like a living lung built into the soil. Carbon dioxide flows out, oxygen flows in. The temperature inside stays remarkably stable even as the world above swings between hot afternoons and cold nights. No architect drew that, no supervisor measured those angles. The ants simply followed local rules about where to dig, where to dump dirt, and where the air felt stale, and over time the city shaped itself around physics. This is the part that humbles every engineer who studies it. Human engineers plan top-down. We imagine the whole building first, then break it into floors, rooms, beams. Ants build bottom-up. Each tiny decision is local, yet the global result, the finished city, is more efficient than many of our own designs. Computer scientists have noticed. Algorithms inspired by ant pheromone trails now help route internet traffic, schedule deliveries, and optimize supply chains. We are, in a quiet way, learning to think the way colonies do. And then there's the question of memory. A single ant lives only weeks or months. The colony itself can live for decades. Some species have queens documented to survive 20 or even 30 years, which means the colony as a whole remembers things no individual member ever experienced. Old foraging routes get inherited by new workers who were not even born when the trail began. Old battle strategies against rival colonies get reenacted by ants who never met the previous generation of soldiers. The colony is, in a sense, a body whose cells keep getting replaced, while the creature itself keeps living. Sound familiar? It should. You are doing the same thing. The cells in your body today are not the cells that were there years ago, yet you are still you. A colony is not a metaphor for an organism. Many biologists now argue it is one. They call it a superorganism, a single living thing made of thousands or millions of bodies working in such tight coordination that the line between individual and group quietly dissolves. And once you see them that way, ants stop looking like little robots on the sidewalk. They start looking like moving cells of something much larger, something thinking slowly, in chemistry and footsteps, beneath your shoes. Which brings us to the deepest part of this story. We humans are obsessed with leaders. We assume that wherever there is order, someone must be in charge. A boss, a king, a designer, a god of the anthill. But ants are living proof that order does not need a ruler. It only needs simple rules repeated by enough bodies for long enough. From that, cities rise, farms flourish, wars are fought, generations pass, civilizations are built and rebuilt in the dark. The leader was never missing, the leader was never needed, the intelligence was distributed all along, hiding in the spaces between the workers, in the trails they leave for each other, in the soft chemistry of 1,000 small decisions. And maybe that is the real lesson hidden under the soil, that some of the most impressive things in nature are not built by one great mind, but by countless small ones agreeing, step by step, on what to do next. The next time you see a line of ants crossing a path, try to slow down for a moment. You are not watching a crowd of insects. You are watching a single, ancient, leaderless mind doing what it has done for over 100 million years without ever needing to be told. If this gave you a new way of seeing something as small as an ant, please give the video a like. It genuinely helps more curious people find this channel. Subscribe if you want more stories about how animals think, feel, and quietly outsmart our assumptions. And tell me in the comments, what is the most impressive thing you have ever seen an ant do with your own eyes? I read them. Next time, we are going somewhere very different, into the strange inner world of an animal that may recognize itself in a mirror, and what that recognition really means. I will see you there.